So a client reached out wondering if I could do alterations on a wedding dress that she had bought. I asked her what exactly she needed. She said she loved the wedding dress. She just bought it a few sizes too big in anticipation that she was going to need alterations. I was like, well, great. I would rather work on a dress that is too big than too small. So I asked her to come in to see what was actually going on. So she came in. This is her in the wedding dress. For sure, the dress was too big. You can actually see she's holding it up. If she let go of the dress was going to fall to the ground. So I was like, okay, fairly easy, not too easy, but I was going to take in the dress through the sides and I would have to lift the lace off and take out the boning to do my work.
So I went to work, and my process, as mentioned before, is to lift the lace off. Now, it just depends on the type of dress and how the lace applique has been sewn on. So this one, I'm actually using a razor blade.
So listen, I believe everyone should be able to do some basic sewing. This is basic hand sewing, basic machine sewing if you do have a sewing machine, but that shouldn't stop you from knowing how to hand sew so that you can do some basic alterations. Simple things like hemming your clothing, taking in your clothing, sewing back on a button that has come off, putting on snaps. So the very, very basic everyday things to keep your clothing a little longer so that you can wear them for a little bit longer. I'm not leaving you high and dry. My course, So Simple Alterations for Absolute Beginners, is finally out and enrollment is now open. This is a self-paced course. You have access to it for a lifetime, so you can start whenever you are ready to start. But I suggest that you get the course right now because prices will be going up. I have poured my heart out into this course. I have given you so much information, so much value in the course to help you be able to sew, do the basics, and do some basic alterations. So the price will not be staying where it is. It will be going up. So get it now while it's still at a favorable price. And yeah, let's get sewing. Let's get learning how to do some basic sewing, some basic alterations. Link is either in my bio or in the description box.
And it is sewn with invisible thread onto some mesh fabric on the dress. And so that is what I'm doing. I'm gently and carefully trying to cut off those threads so that I can open up the seam, or open up to see the seam on the actual dress. And then you can see a little bit of the seam. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is take in the seam by however much measurement I had decided with the bride, and then sew that down. So you can see the seam that I'm pointing at there, and it's going to be the seam on the outside and the seam on the inside. This dress did have some boning as well, so that was another thing that I had to remove, was the boning on the sides of the dress. It was just plastic flimsy boning, and so I had to remove that boning so that I could take it in as well. And then after that, I had to add back the boning. So that is a little bit of the process. So I will take in, I can't remember how much I needed to take in. So I took that in, sewed that down. And then what I need to do right now is uh, sew on the applique back, but I'm just going to pin it in prep for my client's next fitting.
So the client came in for her next fitting, and you can see such a huge difference from holding up the dress to not holding up the dress.
Yeah, so I had to lift the lace, and then I'm gonna sew it back down. So I just pinned it there. But yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll figure out the lace and the boning. And then I'll just readjust the lace so that it's a little tighter. So in this part, you can see that the dress is still a little big. I need to go ahead and tighten it just a little bit, but also in the midsection, the front of the midsection, you can see where I pinned, it was bunching up. So I need to shorten up the bodice just a little bit, and I have it pinned to show how much I'm going to actually take that in. So I go ahead and take measurements of how wide and how long I need to make that adjustment. And what I'm going to do next is just cut off the lace. Again, it was lifting the lace on the sides. This one, I actually am going to cut the lace, and just to make sure that the lace doesn't unravel, I'm adding fray block so that if I do cut into it, it doesn't unravel. And then I'll go ahead and just cut the lace layer off carefully and according to the measurements that I had taken that I need to make the adjustment. So I'm doing that. And then once I do that, I'm actually doing that so that I can again lift the lace, then make the adjustment on the lining or the main fabric of the dress. There you can see I've lifted the lace. I'm going to take the adjustment and then sew it down. Already sewed that down, and then close up the lace because it was bunching up. It was like the lace was doing its own thing. The fabric itself was doing its own thing. So I did it this way so that I could tighten the lace. So I'm just pinning the lace back. And then once I am done pinning all of that, I'm going to be hand sewing. So you can see it's not as simple as just taking a dress in or letting it out. If it has lace, if it has beading, then you will spend a lot more time trying to make the dress, firstly make the adjustments, and then put it back almost in a way that you can't even tell that there were any alterations made. So pinned that, now I'm hand sewing. I usually prefer to use a curved needle because that helps as I put the pointy part into the lace. It just curves up and I can pull the thread easily, but I'm using a straight needle, taking my time, and I actually enjoy hand sewing. Once I finish that, I have the bride come in for another fitting. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Nice and smooth there.
All right, so it looked so much better, and she wanted a bustle, so I gave her 1 point American bustle, and she didn't send me pictures of her in her dress, so I made this AI video of a NOLA themed bride in her dress.
Before and after, how did I do?